Billy Eugene Bill Self, Jr. is an American college men's basketball coach at the University of Kansas, where he has led Kansas to 11 straight Big 12 Conference regular season championships, 2008 NCAA National Championship, where they won, and the 2012 NCAA National Championship, where they finished the season as the national runner-up. Self was named the Sporting News National Coach of the Year in 2000, 2009 and 2011, the Associated Press National Coach of the Year in 2009, the USBWA Henry Iba Award winner in 2009, CBS Chevrolet National Coach of the Year in 2009, ESPN.com National Coach of the Year in 2009 and won the Adolph Rupp Cup in 2012. He was named the Big 12 Coach of the Year in 2006, 2009, 2011, 2012, 2014. He is also a 5-time finalist for the Naismith Coach of the Year award. He was a 2010 United Nations NGO Positive Peace Award nominee for his work in 1982 and 1985 and was an All-Big 8 selection in 1982. He received his bachelor's degree in business in 1985 and a master's degree in athletic administration in 1989 from Oklahoma State University. Self is one of 3 active coaches who have led 3 different teams to the Elite 8 of the NCAA tournament. He has led Tulsa, Illinois, and Kansas to the Elite 8. The other 2 coaches are Rick Pitino, who led Providence, Kentucky, and Louisville to the Elite 8, and John Calipari, who led Massachusetts, Memphis, and Kentucky to the Elite 8. From 2006 to 2012, Self had the best 6-year record of any men's basketball coach in Division I history. As a coach at Kansas, Self has a record at Allen Fieldhouse of 168-9. In his tenure, Self has had a 34-game home win streak and a 69-game home win streak, a school record and 11th longest in NCAA history. Self played college basketball at Oklahoma State University, where he was a 4-year letter winner. During his tenure at Kansas, he has persuaded several McDonald's All-Americans to become Jayhawks, including Mario Chalmers, Darrell Arthur, Xavier Henry, Andrew Wiggins, and Cliff Alexander. Self is also known for implementing a strong high-low motion offense using size as an advantage in the paint, and a pressing man-to-man defense on all his teams from his early coaching days at the University of Tulsa through the present. He has also shown great adaptability on the court and has implemented sometimes drastic adjustment as needed to his defensive schemes with various degrees of success. In addition, Self was born the same date as Gonzaga Bulldogs men's basketball head coach Mark Few. Collegiate coaching history. Early coaching jobs. After a successful playing career as Oklahoma High School Basketball Player of the Year in 1981 at Edmond Memorial High School, Self played for Paul Hansen at Oklahoma State before joining Larry Brown's coaching staff at the University of Kansas, replacing John Calipari when Calipari accepted a position as assistant coach at the University of Pittsburgh. Self remained at Kansas as an assistant coach for the 1985-1986 season. Between 1986 and 1993, Self was an assistant coach at Oklahoma State University under Leonard Hamilton, followed by Eddie Sutton. Oral Roberts. After Oral Roberts compiled a 5-22 record in the 1992-1993 season, the worst in its history, Bill Self was hired as its head coach. In his first season at ORU, the team managed only 6 victories. Things improved slightly the following year, when ORU won 10 games. In Self's third season, he guided the Golden Eagles to an 18-9 record, and in his fourth season ORU registered a 21-7 record as the school made its first postseason tournament appearance since its 1983-1984 appearance in the National Invitation Tournament. Tulsa. After rebuilding the Golden Eagles, Self was hired by crosstown rival Tulsa and spent 3 seasons there, compiling a Tulsa best 74-27 record. While at TU, Self coached the Hurricane to consecutive NCAA tournament appearances in 1999 and 2000. In the 1999-2000 season, In addition to setting a school single-season record for victories by compiling a 32-5 record, Self led the Golden Hurricane to its first-ever Elite Eight appearance. Illinois. On June 9, 2000, Illinois named Bill Self the head coach of their basketball program. Self's predecessor, Lon Kruger, had recently left the Illinois program to accept a job in the NBA as head coach of the Atlanta Hawks. In 2001, his first season at Illinois, Self coached a squad of mostly Lon Kruger recruits to a 27-8 record, a share of the Big Ten title, and a final Associated Press ranking of 4th in the nation, resulting in the Fighting Illini earning a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Self coached Illinois guards Frank Williams and Corey Bradford, along with guard forward Sergio McClain, forward Brian Cook, and center Marcus Griffin, to the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament. The Illini failed to advance beyond the Elite Eight after falling to eventual tournament finalists number 2 seeded Arizona. The 01 Illini roster included future NBA players Frank Williams, Robert Archibald and Brian Cook. With mostly the same core, Illinois followed up the season with impressive 2002 and 2003 campaigns, but fell in the NCAA Tournament Sweet 16 in 2002 to the University of Kansas, and the second round in 2003 to the University of Notre Dame. Self was responsible for the recruitment of many of the 2005 Fighting Illini team which won the Big Ten title under Bruce Weber. Bruce Weber replaced Self prior to the 2004 season and coached the 2005 Fighting Illini, almost exclusively Self's recruits, to an NCAA record-tying 37-2 record after falling to North Carolina in the NCAA championship game. Players Self recruited on that team included 4 eventual NBA draft picks, Brooklyn Nets guard Deron Williams, Dee Brown, Luther Head and James Augustin. In Self's 3 seasons in Illinois, he led the Fighting Illini to 2 Big Ten regular season championships, a Big Ten tournament title, and 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances. His record was 78-24 in that span, the best 3-season run in Illinois history until it was surpassed by Illinois' subsequent coach Bruce Weber soon thereafter. Kansas. After the 2003 season, Roy Williams left Kansas to take over at North Carolina. This vacancy left many speculating that Self would take what was well publicized as his dream job with the Jayhawks. Self told a large group of Illini supporters that he was happy at Illinois, but he did not close the door on the move. Self left for Kansas just a few days later. 2003-04, in his first season at Kansas, Self led the Jayhawks to the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament, where they fell to Georgia Tech. 2004-05, the following season, the Jayhawks were ranked the preseason number 1 and started off 20-1, but slumped and lost 6 of their final 9 games. Kansas received a number 3 seed in the tournament and lost to number 14 seed Bucknell in the first round of the NCAA tournament. The team finished 23-7 and settled for a Big 12 co-championship with Oklahoma. 2005-06. In 2005-06, little was expected of the freshman-sophomore-dominated Jayhawks, as they were unranked in the preseason polls and picked to finish 6th in the conference. They began the season 10-6, including 1-2 in the Big 12. Although they did post a 73-46 win over Kentucky, they also saw the end of their 31-game winning streak over rival Kansas State with a 59-55 loss at Allen Fieldhouse, and 2 nights later blew a 7-point lead in the final 45 seconds of regulation en route to an 89-86 overtime loss at Missouri. But afterward, the Jayhawks matured rapidly, winning 15 of their final 17 games. They picked up impressive road wins over Texas A&M, Iowa State, Nebraska, and Oklahoma State. They mounted a monumental comeback victory over Oklahoma after falling behind by as many as 16 in the second half, and avenged their loss to Missouri with a 79-46 victory over the Missouri Tigers in Lawrence, Kansas. KU did stumble against Texas, taking an 80-55 beating, but by winning their final 2 Big 12 games over Colorado and at Kansas State, took advantage of a Texas loss to Texas A&M to force a tie for the Big 12 title at 13-3. KU played as the number 2 seed in the Big 12 tournament in Dallas, and avenged the loss to Texas with an 80-68 victory over the Longhorns in the final to clinch the tournament championship. KU was handed a number 4 seed for the NCAA tournament but stumbled again in the first round with a loss to the number 13 seed Bradley. 2006-07, prior to the 2006-07 season, Bill Self was 72-24 in 3 seasons at KU, 279-129 in 13 seasons overall and 13-8 in NCAA tournament play. On February 10, 2007, Self recorded his 300th career win in a 92-74 victory at Missouri. Self led Kansas to the 2007 Big 12 regular season championship with a 14-2 record, highlighted by a win over the Kevin Durant-led Texas Longhorns in a pair of monumental, come-from-behind victories in the last game of the regular season and in the Big 12 championship game. At the end of the regular season, Kansas stood at 27-4 and ranked number 2 in the nation in both the AP and coaches polls. In the NCAA tournament, Self's Jayhawks received a number 1 seed, and advanced to Self's 4th career Elite 8, with the team garnering commanding wins over 16-seed Niagara and 8-seed Kentucky, as well as a victory over the 4th-seeded Southern Illinois. Kansas's tournament run ended in the Elite 8 with a loss to 2-seed UCLA. 2007-08, in 2007-08, Kansas started the season 20-0 before suffering its first loss at Kansas State. Michael Beasley led KSU past the Jayhawks at Bramlage Coliseum. The defeat marked Kansas' first loss in its last 24 trips to Manhattan, Kansas, where KU had remained undefeated since 1983. Kansas eventually won the Big 12 regular season title in the Big 12 Conference Tournament, and secured a number 1 seeding in the NCAA tournament in the Midwest region Detroit, Michigan. On March 30, 2008, Self led Kansas to a win in the Elite 8 over Davidson. KU won by 2, 59-57, after a last-second shot by Davidson's Jason Richards drew only backboard. The Jayhawks went on to play the overall number 1 seeded North Carolina Tar Heels in the semifinals, who were coached by Self's predecessor at Kansas, Roy Williams. The Jayhawks jumped on the Tar Heels early, leading 40-12 at one point, before recording an authoritative 84-66 victory and advancing to the national championship game. On April 7, 2008, Kansas defeated the John Calipari-led Memphis in overtime, 75-68, earning KU its first national title since 1988. Mario Chalmers, who forced Memphis to overtime by hitting a 3-point shot with 2.1 seconds left in regulation, was named Most Outstanding Player in the NCAA tournament. In August 2008, Self signed a new 10-year contract guaranteeing him $3 million annually, making him the second highest-paid coach in college basketball at the time, following Florida's Billy Donovan. 2008-09, the Jayhawks lost their entire starting lineup and 2 reserves to the NBA draft following the 2008 season, and returned only 2 role players from the NCAA championship squad. With guard Sharon Collins and center Cole Aldrich, Self responded by coaching the team to a 27-8 season record, a Big 12 championship, a Sweet 16 showing at the NCAA postseason tournament, and several National Coach of the Year awards. 2009-10, going into the 2009-10 season, the Jayhawks were ranked number 1 in the preseason polls. The team went 33-3 and won Self's 6th straight Big 12 championship, something no team had accomplished in a BCS conference since John Wooden's UCLA teams of the 1960s and 70s. The team also won the Big 12 tournament, Self's 3rd. Self reached his 400th career victory with a win over Iowa State on February 13. The Jayhawks had their 2000th win in school history under Self when they defeated Texas Tech in the 2009-2010 season, joining the University of Kentucky and the University of North Carolina as the only schools to record such an achievement. However, the Jayhawks were seeded number 1 in the NCAA tournament and were upset by number 9 seeded Northern Iowa in the second round of the 2010 NCAA tournament. 2010 Euro 11, recruiting began immediately for the 2010 Euro 11 season, as Kansas landed top recruit Josh Selby in April. By September 2010, both the Sporting News and Athlon Sports had ranked Kansas in their pre-season outlook as number 4 overall and, along with ESPN's Joe Lunardi, were projected to become a number 1 seed again in the 2011 NCAA tournament. Blue Ribbon and the USA Today ESPN coaches polls both placed Kansas at number 7 in the preseason poll. Josh Selby became eligible mid-season and joined the Jayhawks beginning December 18 against USC. The Jayhawks went 29-2 during the regular season, winning the Big 12 Conference title in the Big 12 Conference tournament in Kansas City, Missouri. Bill Self's career home record at the Phog is currently 145 Euro 7, an NCAA percentage best of .954. Self was named Big 12 Coach of the Year for the third time on March 6, both in the coaches' poll and by the Associated Press. The Jayhawks entered the NCAA tournament as the number 1 seed in the Southwest region, defeating 16th seed Boston University and 9th seed Illinois to advance to the Sweet 16 where they beat 12th seed Richmond. Kansas lost to number 11 seed Virginia Commonwealth by 10 points in the Elite 8 round of the 2011 NCAA tourney. Over the last 5 seasons, Self's KU teams won 165 games, an average of 30.0 wins a year, passing Mike Krzyzewski of Duke and Jerry Tarkanian of UNLV for the highest 5-year win total of any men's basketball coach in Division I history. In the 2010 Euro 11 season, Self led the Jayhawks past North Carolina to end the season at number 2 on the all-time wins list, trailing leader Kentucky by 14 games. 2011 Euro 12. In 2011 Euro 12, having lost 4 starters from the 2010-11 team, Kansas faced an apparent rebuilding year. 2 of Bill Self's recruits were ruled ineligible by the NCAA, and those who moved into the starting positions had seen little action in prior years. Kansas began the season with a 7-3 record, and though there were wins over Georgetown and UCLA in Maui and an upset of Ohio State in Allen Fieldhouse, Kansas lost to Kentucky by 10 points, to Duke by 7 points in the Maui finals, and to Davidson by 6 points in an upset in Kansas City. Self later stated that, after the loss to Davidson, he worried of his team's chances of making the NCAA tournament that year. Kansas won its last 3 non-conference games, and went 16-2 through the Big 12 to capture an 8th straight Big 12 regular season championship. On February 25, 2012, Kansas erased a 19-point deficit at home against its arch-rival, number 3 ranked Missouri, winning 87-86 in overtime to clinch the Big 12 title. Kansas faltered in the 2012 Big 12 tournament, losing to Baylor in the semifinals. The Jayhawks entered the 2012 NCAA tournament as a number 2 seed in the Midwest Regional. After a win over Detroit Mercy, the Jayhawks rallied for a comeback victory over Purdue in the second round, a game in which Kansas led for only 45 seconds. In the regional rounds, Kansas secured a narrow victory over North Carolina State before facing top-seeded but injury-riddled North Carolina in the regional final. In only their second meeting against former KU coach Roy Williams, the Jayhawks sprinted with UNC to a 47-47 halftime tie, before ultimately claiming an 80-67 victory and a trip to New Orleans for the Final Four. With a 64-62 victory over Ohio State, Kansas advanced to the championship game to face Kentucky, a rematch of their earlier encounter in November. The Jayhawks fell behind by as many as 18 points against the Wildcats in the first half. Kansas trimmed the deficit to 5 late in the second half, but ultimately lost, 67-59. The Jayhawks concluded the year with a 32-7 record, and Self was named the Naismith Coach of the Year. 2012 Euro 13, with 4 seniors in the starting lineup and redshirt freshman Ben McLemore eligible to play. Expectations were high for Kansas. The Jayhawks got off to a fast start, winning 19 of their first 20 games, including the CBE Classic in Kansas City. But then they hit a 3-game skid, losing at home to Oklahoma State, at TCU and at Oklahoma. Following the Jayhawks' loss to a TCU team that had been winless in Big 12 play to that point and would finish last in the league, Self made national headlines when he called his team worse than James Naismith's teams that lost to the Topeka YMCA. KU recovered from its 3-game skid and went on to share the Big 12 championship with Kansas State, and then won the Big 12 tournament by beating KSU 70-54 in the title game. The team earned a 1 seed for the NCAA Tournament South region and picked up wins against Western Kentucky and North Carolina to reach the Sweet 16 for the 4th straight year. However, the team's tournament run was cut short when Kansas blew a 14-point lead in the final minutes and lost to Michigan in overtime, finishing the year 31-6. 2013 Euro 14, with star freshmen Andrew Wiggins and Joel Embiid on the roster, Kansas entered the season as the number 5 team in the country. They started off well with 5 straight wins, including a victory over Duke in the Champions Classic. However, the team went 4-4 over its next 8 games, including back-to-back losses to Colorado and Florida and an ugly home loss to San Diego State. The team recovered from this rough stretch and began Big 12 play with 7 straight wins, ultimately finishing 14-4 to win its 10th consecutive Big 12 title. A back injury to Joel Embiid, however, left the Jayhawks vulnerable on their interior defense, and they fizzled out at season's end with 4 losses in their final 7 games, including a loss to Iowa State in the Big 12 tournament semifinals in Kansas City and an NCAA tournament round of 32 loss to Stanford to end the year. Kansas concluded the year 25-10. The first 10-loss season for Kansas since Roy Williams' 1999-2000 Jayhawks went 24-10. 2014 Euro 15, as usual, Kansas signed another highly regarded recruiting class, adding Kelly Oubre, Jr. and Cliff Alexander to its roster, and the Jayhawks began the campaign as the number 5 team in the country for the 2nd straight year. KU stumbled out of the gate with a humbling 32-point defeat at the hands of number 1 Kentucky in its 2nd game, and then also suffered an embarrassing 25-point loss on the road at Temple in late December. Once Big 12 play rolled around, however, the Jayhawks regained momentum, winning 8 of their first 9 league contests, ultimately capturing their 11th consecutive Big 12 title. However, success in the NCAA tournament would not come as Self's Jayhawks were beaten 65-78 by Wichita State in the round of 32. Professional players coached. Assists Foundation. In June 2006, Self and his wife, Cindy, established the Assists Foundation, a 501(c)(3) organization to serve as a fundraising conduit for organizations that serve a variety of youth initiatives. The mission of Assists is to help provide young people access to better lives. Assists held its first public fundraiser June 7, 2008 at Euro Bills basketball boogie at Kansas Speedway. Over 50 local businesses and Kansas supporters signed on to sponsor the event, which offered opportunities to socialize with past and present Kansas basketball elite and to purchase valuable basketball memorabilia and travel and entertainment venues through the auction. Entertainment was provided by Sawyer Brown and Disco Dick. Head coaching record. Record against current Big 12 conference opponents equals, former Big 12 members, total versus Big 12 opponents, updated through March 24, 2014. Big 12 tables only include games against teams during their respective Big 12 tenures and during Self's tenure at Kansas. References. External links. Official website, Kansas profile, Bill Self's Assists Foundation.